Welcome to the Jenna and Bretta podcast.
And it's like, you know why? Because God's my provider, not you. So
Yeah.
that's why I give so freely. Because if it's meant, it'll come back to me.
And
What
then
you do
also-
with it is up to you.
I think also like the piece of the pie. A lot of people want the whole pie. I just want a slice.
Yes,
I just
one
want, and,
slice.
like it fits so well because they don't talk about the pie of heaven, right? They talk about pie in the sky, which is like that impossible thing. But they talk about you can have a little slice of heaven.
Yes. Well, the multimillionaire that I met, the best piece of advice he gave me two pieces of advice that I'll give anyone at any given time. And the first piece of advice he gave me is that everyone talks about needing to be a shark in business. They say in order to make anything, in order to survive, you have to be a shark. And he said, well, actually, there's a lot of other aquatic life that lives very
the ocean.
peacefully in the ocean.
Yeah.
There's octopus and they're very nice and friendly. And, he's like, you do not have to be a shark. You can have integrity and still make it.
Yeah, I like that. And there's nothing wrong with sharks. Have you seen that documentary with Ocean? What is her name? Ocean Ramsey.
No.
Have you seen this? It's on Netflix. Oh my gosh.
I'm going to have to.
She literally swims with sharks and talks about how sharks have this like really bad reputation because obviously there's like Jaws and all of the like things that have those narratives that get created and storytelling about how they're deadly, and of course in the wrong situation crossing them they can be a very deadly situation. But she just goes out there and she swims with sharks and like great white sharks.
I would swim with a shark more often than I'd want to a dolphin. Those things scare the crap out of me.
Well, the interesting thing is her name is Ocean, and she literally looks like she's a fish too. I mean, and not that she's beautiful, but that the way that she moves in the ocean and lives in the ocean and just like works in the ocean, and her shark conservation is like really really beautiful, different, right? She's going out there and like swimming with sharks with people in like scholarly circles are like, oh, we have problems with that, and she's taking pictures on like G-strings and bikinis and stuff to raise awareness about the sharks, not just like she swims in regular stuff, but
she's smart. Sex sells, and she's trying to get the attention of people, not for herself,
but for the shark
but for them.
awareness, right? And like how sharks are important for the ocean, and like
Talk about She-Ra though, right?
Right.
What Kim Kardashian uses it to make money for herself. She doesn't do it for anything good. Look at this woman. I applaud any woman who uses her pretty, sexy privilege to do something for a good cause.
It honestly, like, I think women, or maybe me, I don't know about other women, I can't speak for all women, look at the sex sells thing, right? And like judges it harshly. And I think differently because I don't think of it in sexual terms, right? I don't think like bedroom behavior. I think of it as like, damn, look at that girl's curves. She's beautiful.
She's
goddess incarnate.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Exactly.
We should stop judging each other out there.
100%. No more judgment. I think a lot about the different songs. I've been listening to a lot more country lately.
Okay.
Not new country. Sorry if that's your thing.
Yeah,
it's not mine.
I'm old timey country.
But I'm talking 90s, 80s country, Reba.
Oh my gosh.
And,
Love Reba.
I relate to it more now because, you see these mothers working so hard to do what they've got to do. And I think the villainization and the, F the men, F the women, like that, where they keep pinning us against each other. But I'm a mom of boys and girls.
Mm-hmm.
The men are not the enemy. I was given this sticker the other day that said criminalize men.
Mm-hmm.
And it really bothered me. And then it's like, well, men are bad. And I'm like, whose fault is that? Who's raising these men?
This is a loaded topic for we just jumped into it.
We did.
No hello or anything like that. We just started in, hello, welcome. But this is like, okay, go on about this because talking about raising kids and where it starts in the home, right? That's such a big topic we're going to tackle, and we're going to unpack it today.
Yes, unpacking little by little and how it affects the workplace too, everywhere.
I think all of society, because I have a big nugget in my brain that I want to unpack with you and just see what Jenna thinks about this, because it has really been bothering me, and I'm sure that some people out there have come across this topic too.
Yeah. You please, let's start there. Let's start with your topic because it ties into what I'm talking about as well.
So, Soft White Underbelly is a channel that I've watched, and I've actually like had concerns about, and I will watch it in terms of entertainment because it's actually very like human rich example of people out there doing weird stuff. And I'm a voyeur and I can't help it. And so when you turn on one of these videos, and obviously it's very narrative because you're hearing people's stories and how they ended up there. So there's a lot of that just draws you in. Recently, there's a story about a 13, well, I guess she was 13 when she came onto his channel, and she was a quote unquote, to them, their words, not mine, a child prostitute at 13 years old. And the guy, his name is Mark Laita, he hosts the channel, he hosts all these people, he puts them out there on the internet, and he had this child with her mother, so like she's also there, no shirt on, well she has a shirt on but it's sheer, so like her anatomy is visible on camera, talking about how she pulls tricks. Figueroa, I don't know if you've heard of it, but it's a notorious area in LA, very bad, very known for like unsavory behavior. Talking about how she's pulling tricks on Figueroa. The mom is sitting right there. Mark Laita is talking to this child about it, and in certain circles, it's been rumored that he was the one that actually suggested the outfit, even though he denies it and says, "Oh, I didn't even notice her breasts were like hanging out there." But I have a lot. I've actually reached out to him myself as a mental health therapist with concerns about how he's like approached some of these people on his channel, and I never heard back from him, but I just, it's a loaded topic. And even when it comes to child trafficking, because he'll call it prostitution, child prostitution, but just from a mental health perspective, I would like to educate everybody out there in the mental health world, or just even in human development. People don't develop their prefrontal cortex, the part of their brain that actually helps them process consequences and like making a decision. So A, the action, the B, the behavior, and then C, the consequence. Human beings do not have the capability of actually coming into awareness of true consequences until the prefrontal cortex is fully formed at the age of 25. So societal standards will say 18, so we'll just draw a line there. We'll just say that's the delineating line. In the field of mental health, the law, children cannot be prostitutes. So let's just put that out there. Whoever is saying that, child prostitute, oh, the child wanted to do that. No. They do not have the capacity to make that decision. Mm-mm. So anybody who's using that language, stop it now. I know I'm being duplicitous and saying like, oh, let's not be judgmental in society, but let's not do that. Let's just not do that. And just say and agree. And if you don't agree, comment or whatever. But across the line, if a child is out there in that lifestyle, they are being trafficked. And it's illegal.
Yes.
And it's dangerous. And let's just put it out there. And then we'll start the conversation there. But I've been watching this back and forth, and there's some other like YouTubers, so I'll watch like reaction videos from others. BJ Investigates, she's kind of like, started out like not liking her, but now I'm like, girl, we are in sync on this. Like, this is not right. And like, she's like, it's my karmic duty to like speak on this. And like, I feel like more of society should be out there saying this. So anyhow, we're talking about men, children, behavior, moms. Like, Jenna, take it away. It's like, it's intense.
We were talking about this off camera, and we were talking about how this mirrors a local issue that we've had, and I'll even bring it up because it's made national news, and that was a child that was trafficked by her own mother, to the point that it led to her death and dismemberment in a bathtub, and her body was found to have STDs. There were 2 men that were arrested, and I believe they're still in custody. I don't know for certain, but I do know that the mother was just released after a very short time in prison. And,
literally no time at all, really. It was quite offensive.
And it's an outrage. She did absolutely do this knowingly. She did allow and even encourage this to happen to her daughter, and God knows how long it went on, and it's heartbreaking. But these are children. And we were just talking about no judgment, but there is we have to draw a line, okay? And on this side of the line, protect your child against anything.
I think that is a good place to start, and I would dissect it a little. Like, is that even judgmental?
No,
I think
that's moral.
I think it's like when elephants, like, they nudge their mates in the little society, like they nudge them, like, hey, get back in line, like put the circle around the baby, right?
Mm-hmm.
It's a behavior. It's not really a judgment. It's a protection. It's a hey, this is how we protect ourselves. This is how we like educate ourselves. This is how we learn from like nature, and not literally put our children out there to the wolves or to the lions, I guess, and if it's an elephant. But what in terms of judgment, when I think of judgment, it's like you've done something where somebody has the authority to give you a consequence based off of their autonomy or their power or whatever it is, their position in society. But is it even a judgment to just like make an observation and say this is gross?
I don't think it's, well, I mean, technically, yes, if we're going to look at the word judgment. But I don't think you're judging a person harshly and undeserved. I mean, it is still technically a judgment, but I think it's a solid one. It's just like using your judgment to decide whether or not you're going to jaywalk or anything else, right? You use your judgment. Is this worth it? Is it worth it? And so when you're seeing someone else and you're like, a child's innocence is being ripped from them against their will and they don't even know it.
Yeah.
Because here's the thing, I've known people who have been trafficked. I've helped in situations where people just need someone to talk to about it. And these are grown women who have been trafficked into that situation. And, their stories on how that happened, they didn't even realize it was happening until it was too late in a lot of cases. Not every case, but when it comes to children, they only know where they came from. Their decisions are based on what they know from home and friends and influences, etc. And the fact that the mother was there, I have a lot of questions about that. I did not watch the podcast, so my opinion, take it with a grain of salt.
Was sitting right there. So it's weird because her position is like she's sitting there right next to the child, in a position where she's like, oh, I'm concerned because when she disappears, she does all of this, she does all of that. But at the same time, in subsequent like contacts, she's reaping the benefits because apparently this guy, he pays the people that do the interviewing with him, right? And or if the daughter is making connections on the street, apparently the mom is reaping some kind of financial reward from it, or it's like she gets to be duplicitous and like, oh, I'm so concerned about you. You're running away. You're doing all of this, and at the same time, anytime you bring in something positive financially, like I, as your mom, get like a cut of it. I don't know.
So hold on.
That could be like a judgment.
I'm like, freeze for a second. Did you just say that mom gets a cut of the money she brings in?
It's hard to make that. So again, this is from like lens.
Just based on the facts that she said in there.
Well, okay. So like let's dissect what is social media, right? Like the lens is capturing the story from like Mark Laita. He's sitting on the other side of the camera, so you get to extrapolate or infer what's going on based off of what you're seeing on that side of, or what on the screen, right? However, if it's been edited or whatever. And then like there's the other people that do the reaction videos, and then you see like the daughter has a social media that she has, which I actually have never seen, but then there's like people who cut videos out from her. So it's kind of like you get into that mirror play. So I cannot say specifically that is what is happening. Inference would say that mom is probably getting some sort of benefit, reaping some kind of secondary gain there. But yeah, like it's possible. Let's say it's possible.
Okay. Well, then what I would say, instead of judging myself, I would say that I'm going to make a statement that'll probably piss a lot of people off. But
honestly,
if you're going to,
pissed off about this,
yes, if you're going to condone a mother supporting a daughter's decision to sell her body at 13 years old, then you have no right to be upset at a man like Andrew Tate, who takes grown women with their ability to make their own choices and is a pimp, because that's what a mother would be, in my humble opinion.
Right.
That makes her her pimp. If she is getting compensated for sexual acts that are being paid for by, I don't know, whoever would pay for this, I want to go with the law. Let's go with the law and facts, right? If a teenage boy receives photos from his teenage girlfriend that are lewd, and show off any part of her body that is sexually explicit, and it is found by an adult, and an adult will be charged as a predator for having child pornography on their phone. They will go to jail. And that was their girlfriend. That was a consensual thing that this teenage girl gave to her boyfriend. This is actually a true story. At my children's school, we found this out, that one of their friends is now a registered sex offender because he was 17 and a half years old, and his girlfriend sent him some sexually explicit photos, and they were leaked.
I have a theory about this because the law intrigues me. I'm not a lawyer, but this BJ investigates. She's a lawyer. So she's talking about all the different, like, her channel is really interesting when you want to hear, like, the legal perspective of it. Because I'm like, how is it that Mark Laita has a 13-year-old on his channel?
Exposed. Was it even blurred out? I'm curious.
So I don't know. I cannot bring myself to watch that one because I just feel like, just from my experiences, and like you have worked with victims of trafficking, to me, I don't want to hear it that way.
No.
I want to hear that little child. I want to hear her in my office where I can help her heal. Like in that space where you're watching it just for the entertainment value in that kind of energy, to me, I'm like, that is not right. To just say, like, if I'm going to judge myself and make, like, moral decisions based off of, like, I don't want to watch that. And honestly, I have a little bit of difficulty about the rest of the channel, which we'll get into, but, like, I don't know. But if he did blur it out for everybody else, okay. But he's still in possession, right, of a child sitting there doing an interview. Is that not child porn? Or is that not child, like, I mean, what is that considered in law, right?
I wouldn't personally want to watch that. And I think as a mother, I ask myself, would I want my child on any channel exposed that much? Absolutely not.
Yeah, even blurred out or whatever. Like, right? I mean, it could be problematic.
But so here's where I bring in a controversial idea, because I agree with you on everything you said. I think that in this day and age, it's disgusting that it's being showcased as entertainment, and we want to know more about it. I think we should want to know more about how to help a situation, because what brought her into child prostitution?
Yes. And so when I reached out to Mark Laita, I addressed that with him, and I don't, again, he never reached out to me, but again, going back to that original point you have, I have a theory about the law, because like this little 17-year-old boy talking to his girlfriend probably just needs some education on like healthy sexual boundaries, right? Like healthy like relationships, healthy expectations within relationships. It could be considered criminal if you're looking at the laws and statutes, right? So I don't want to like take away from that aspect of it. But the law, right, they're going to come down hard on that person. This is my theory in general. So just keep that on like framework and put it on the side. My theory is like, I'm a law-abiding citizen and I'm going to like speed through the intersection and I'm going to get a ticket. When there's all this stuff like literally happening on the streets, and I'm like, why are the cops not like you're going after me because I'm like a little lead on the pedal or whatever. But they're gonna get financially compensated from me because I'm not gonna let that go. And that boy, they're gonna get financially compensated because there's like parents that are gonna be like, we're gonna take care of this and it's gonna get addressed. And to me, the law goes after people that they know are going to like keep the wheel going while all this other stuff is not gonna get addressed, because there's no way that those people are ever going to like pay their bills unless there's like some sort of like divine intervention or social intervention that's really going to help people ground within society, ground within like employment, ground within like housing and stability, and they're actually going to become like stable enough to pay their way in life, because there is a financial component connected to all of this, right? So I don't know if that makes sense to anybody out there, but I'm just saying, like, I think that the people that actually like get policed for the most part are the ones that are just basically going to pay and keep the system going.
And, I agree with you. And I think they were trying to make an example out of this specific child. But it does bring you back to, he's going to go his entire life being a sex offender. The rest of his life for flirting with his girlfriend. And you know what happened to this little girl? Nothing. And here as a mother, this is what I think personally. If you're going to prosecute a boy for having child pornography on his phone from a girl who sent it to him, and she's an innocent victim in this, we have a problem. Because she sent it to him. So shouldn't she be a sex offender for sending child pornography if we're going to go down that route? I'm saying she sent it to his phone, and so she's underage. So why is she not being charged?
So then it goes back to like that whole thing that you started out with of teaching and caring for and rearing in the home.
Yes.
From the very beginning, and I hate to make this like broad example of like we can connect it all to all these people that are like living on Figueroa Street, or like, you know, I'm sure it's happening in every city, but you see these 10 cities of people who have just like really gone off the rails in society, and it's problematic across the nation. If you could just really direct that right back and say, this is the antecedent, this is where it happened, this is where the problem is, it's in the home.
And you know,
I don't know if that's too broad of a leap. Please,
no,
sorry,
no,
I don't
no.
mean to interrupt you.
No, that's fine. As you're saying that, I'm thinking about the point I was originally trying to make, and you know, this is a great because it just falls back into that, and that is that it always comes back to the home, and we parents, that is our biggest nightmare, that our kids will explore outside, you know, because it's normal, it's natural for teenagers to explore themselves. They are going to want to know things, and that's why we're so harsh on parents, and why I try not to judge, but I am a very judgmental mom, not because I think I'm so great, but because I put a lot of time and effort and thought into raising my kids, and I think about everything I do and how is this going to affect my kids. And you know what? Sometimes I feel like I bite the big one as a parent. In fact,
All the time.
forgive the crudeness, but I do. I think that sometimes as a parent, I look at myself. I was just talking to someone that, you know, I work with, and I was telling them that every night before I go to bed, I ask myself, did I love them enough? Did I give them enough attention? Was I soft enough with my words? Where do I need to change? And, you know, I do. Maybe I over worry about that, but I worry about it a lot. And when I wake up in the morning, my first thoughts are always, okay, I'm going to be the best I can be today. I'm going to try really hard to keep everything together. I'm going to do my best for my kids. And that's how I start my intentional day. And so there are things I do where I think about it and I'm like, was that the right decision? But it has never occurred to me that I would ever support my child if she came to me and said, hey, I want a hook, Mom. Like, sorry, but no.
I mean, like, God bless you for that. Because I don't think that is like, I mean, to me, the concept is just, or to us, me and maybe a lot out there is just like, what are we even talking about right now? Like, what is even happening? Like, why would we even do this? But, you know, working on child welfare for a really long time, I know it does happen. And I know that so if it's happening in the home and that's where like the problem is starting, a lot of the times what I would see, and I suspect in this situation, I can't say that this is just speculation, 100% opinion, but substance use, alcoholism, traumas, unhealed traumas, second generational traumas, first generational traumas, sexual abuse also from like the parents, and then they let that happen to the kids, and then it just goes, you know, rampant, right? I think those also have something to do with it. That would make your mind, right?
Domestic violence.
To warp into that place of like, okay, this is what we're going to do. This is okay.
So bringing us back to country, right? I was talking about earlier.
Not,
talking about I'm in the 90s country mode, right?
Yeah.
So I'm going to bring up a controversial song. Let's talk Reba McEntire for a second. What is the song that we all know that goes back to child prostitution? Fancy.
I don't know that one.
You never heard the song Fancy? Oh,
I
girl,
did
you have
not.
to listen to
Okay,
that
I'll
song.
listen to that one.
It's a good song. You'll sing it all day. Like she's a genius, a musical genius. But the song it's called Fancy, and part of the lyrics, she says, "Fancy, here's your one chance. Fancy, don't let me down." And she says that her daughter's wearing the nicest dress. They spent their last dime on perfume. She's all, you got to be nice to the fellas because they're dying. They're starving to death. And the song is about a mom who has her 17-year-old daughter, Fancy, going out to be nice to the fellas so that they don't starve to death. And so this is not a new topic. This is not a new problem. The difference between the song Fancy and the situation you're talking about is this went from a song talking about the economic downfall and the desperate places that people will go just to feed their family so they don't die, versus this woman coming on a podcast and glorifying the fact that her daughter is selling her body. And I don't know the situation, but from what I've heard so far, it sounds like to me that this is more of a glorification about what's happening, and almost even, you know, it's not just approval of it. It's almost saying, yeah, this is how you make good money. This is how you can pad your bills right now. And that breaks my heart, because that innocence is gone.
Yeah.
This child's so young, and the lasting ramifications of this, she could get an STD, she could get pregnant.
She could die.
She could die.
It's the oldest profession, like for women, right? It's the oldest profession, or they could say that. It's the oldest profession for women. Because of how limited women's opportunities have been throughout the narrative of our history. And so I started thinking about this in even more of a global picture, because how is this mom, right? And I'm not trying to be the eternal optimist here, but how is this mom who maybe has had traumas, not making excuses for her at all? Like, as a mother, it actually like disgusts me that you would actually put your child next to you for any kind of financial gain in any kind of that situation, unless there had been extreme measures of like, okay, we're going to do an artistic thing this way. This is how the financial thing is going to go. We're going to set up a trust for your child. Or like, you know what I'm saying? And even then, in that case, why would you expose them in that kind of way, in any kind of like sexual way, like sexual way, I guess you should say it for YouTube, but expose them in any kind of way? I just don't think it's appropriate in any kind of situation to have that happen.
Yeah.
Right? So I'm not making excuses, but I'm just saying, like, if you look at it from this generational thing where women have been the cursed, the downtrodden, the like forgotten, the what is that when you're like marginalized, the marginalized, the impoverished, and then you add, you know, their racial factors there because they're African American, and so you add all this other stuff in there, and like then you start saying, well, how is this mom going to be the decider of right and wrong in this household?
That is a really good point. You know, we don't know the mom's history. We don't know why she finds this okay. For all you know, she was a child that had to do the same thing.
Exactly.
You know, so for her, this is a normal part of life. And, you know, a lot of times here, you know, I work in the domestic violence sector. So I interviewed a lot of people this year that help domestic violence, victims and survivors. And one of the things that I heard over and over and over again is the generational part of this, where mom was beaten and grandma was beaten or dad was beaten. And, you know, for me, I have such a big heart for a different part of this. You know, that's why I mentioned the boy. Yeah, so the girl didn't get in trouble. The boy is now a sex offender for life. And he will be villainized. It'll be hard for him to get married. It'll be hard for him to have a normal life, a job for that matter, all because he did something teenage boys have been doing since even before they had digital photos. You know, think about how many times in the 90s girls would flash boys out of their car window.
My gosh. Well, that's a generational thing. Like when I grew up, I'm sorry, but it was gross out there. Like there was so much groping and flashing, and you don't know any better when you're younger, right? Like that this is the generation that you're growing up in. But now that I'm older and I like see things, I'm so protective of my daughter, because I don't want gross people grabbing on anybody. Like, well, one, we shouldn't be doing that, and two, it's just like can we please evolve? Like, let's have the feminine conversation about like what it means to be worthy of like a human life that is valuable.
Yes. You know, I think about when you mentioned that brings me back to there's this place in Albuquerque called the Domestic Violence Resource Center. Okay, they are there to help people who've been in a domestic violence situation get out. They offer them so much help and care. All they have to do is walk through that door. They have advocates that will listen. They will leave them. They will sit with them and ask them, what do you need? And they don't ever push them. Like, this is a beautiful thing. They don't push them into telling them what to do, right? But tying that back into what we were doing, the reason I brought that up is I had a woman that I was traveling with while going to this place to interview the people there. And I don't like her particularly. And she thought it was okay to grab my arm. And if you don't mind, I'm gonna show you. She's all, "How are you?"
Oh gosh, that's me. I'm like such a cuddle bug.
And I don't mind if we're friends and you
Yeah.
want to put your hands on me. I love you. That's fine. But this woman knows I don't like her.
Oh gosh.
So she puts her hands on me, expecting me to be polite and take it because we're in public.
Yeah.
But I'm Jenna, okay? I don't do polite. You stay out of my boundary space. So I'm walking, and the head of this organization is a male, and he's walking in front of me. He doesn't know what's going on. And the woman grabs me and tries that, and I turn to her and I say, "Don't touch me." And the man in front of me goes, "Okay." And he keeps walking very calmly, respected my boundary, even though I wasn't talking to him. And it just hit me right there that that's the way it should be. It didn't matter. He knew he didn't touch me. He didn't argue with me with, "I didn't touch you." He just said, "Okay."
Yeah.
And it hit me in that moment. Like, it kind of took me off guard because I wanted to say, "Oh, no." But then I was like, no, I'm not going to take back what I just said. I didn't want to be touched.
Yeah.
And he acknowledged that. And he respected that boundary, even though he didn't violate it.
So so then it comes back to boundaries and having healthy boundaries with people, because when we're enforcing boundaries and letting people know what they are, then it really does send clear messages. But like, think of how messed up these boundaries are in this situation. But go ahead.
No, but that's what this is. We're talking about this kid who didn't have this. The parents, the situation was handled so badly because what should have happened to them was, on a parent level, phones are gone, bye, social media, forget it, because you just violated some boundaries that could have gotten you in some serious trouble. On the police side of it, that should have been something that they decided happened between the parents and made sure that it was a legal thing. Is it deleted? All social media accounts must be deleted for these children. That should have been a thing they discussed with the parents. There should have been some serious consequences and talks between the parents for not monitoring their children a little bit, closer.
Have you ever been to Figueroa Street, by the by?
No, I have
haven't
not.
either, but for last year, we went to California, LA, and we stayed in the downtown area, which is adjacent to Figueroa Street. I actually looked on the map, and I'm like, okay, how do I stay away from that area, right? So, but we were like literally like a block away. And the first night we were in the downtown LA area, it was like a war was going on out there without like the bombs. Like literally, there were people screaming, and there was like people fighting, and I was like, holy moly.
Yeah.
Like, what is out there? That, like, even just the sound, the sheer raw human suffering outside where we were staying.
So like Central in Albuquerque.
Yeah, like what we have them, and I'm sure people have them in every city, but it was like really bad. And then, this guy, Mark Laita, his whole premise is like he's pulling all these people from Figueroa Street and to tell their stories and to put them on the internet. But I think if you're walking down there, or even if you're somewhere near there, or even crossing pathways with this guy, like, right, you're probably not in the best space.
No. And that does make you wonder, that's what I'm saying is when this guy puts this on here and he's like, this is what this girl's doing, and she's very proud of it, that shocks me because, like the song Fancy, we go back to that, right? What was that song about? That was about people so desperate
that they put their children out there for,
because
like,
all they wanted was to feed their family. Without that, they were going to die. And that was the point of the song. And so what they were trying to do, and Reba sings it from Fancy's point of view. So she's Fancy in the song, and she's explaining how she got into the profession she did. And I think it's so beautifully put out there because done correctly, telling a story like that brings and raises awareness to a situation that's already happening. And it brings people into we need to do something about it. Not glorifying it, not giving it a platform to normalize it, but to bring out this is a reality for so many people This is what they have to go through. You're mentioning a street where it's like a war zone where people are going through so many things.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? How do you get out of that? Now, if that story had been hey, this is what she had to do to get out of this place, and now she's over here, and she survived that, now she's doing something with her life, that's a whole different story now. But it reminds me of the girl on Dr. Phil who turned out to have her entire career.
Oh, Bad
She's
Baby?
a multimillionaire.
I saw that. That was really interesting, like how she blames, well, doesn't blame because I think she takes accountability for being like Bad Baby now, but she attributes a lot of that persona to being on Dr. Phil and being pushed into like that form of herself. Like, I wouldn't have been Bad Baby if I didn't feel like I had to encompass Bad Baby on your show and like be this person. I mean,
the fact that celebrities that I personally don't condone and I find disgusting, and you want to talk about judging someone, there's a specific billionaire who has 4 children, one with a very famous husband for being crazy, and you'll put it together without me mentioning her name, but she took her under her wing, and she got famous for making a sex video with a singer, and she made money off of parading her life on TV and reality TV, and she made friends with this little girl and taught her how to monetize off of her bad behavior. And we condone it, and we watch it, and we let these people live their lives, and we put them in a place where they're like, oh, I went to school, and I'm a lawyer now, and it's, stuff like that, where she tries to portray herself as this businesswoman. Now she's an actress, and she's so this, that, and the other, and she has all these different ways. You know what? She isn't a good mother.
This is so interesting, because what you're describing to me, right? It borders on the exploitation of people. It borders on that, like...
She exploits her children, her husband, her own body. Her own mother, choreographed her sex tape. And, all of these things...
I actually have no idea who you're talking about right now. But
I'll give you a hint. We keep up with her life on reality TV.
Okay.
She even has a show where it's keeping up with her and her family.
Okay.
And
but so okay,
you know what I mean? And she met that bad Bobby girl. She met her, and there's actually footage of her taking her under her wing and trying to mentor her.
So
Gross.
Now we are on the border. We are on the border of like feminine. The thing that draws people into the feminine energy, which is like where I'm a hardcore feminist, and I'm just like, girl power, Shira, like, let's go.
And I'm more conservative.
So this is the thing though, like if you're monetizing in a way where you feel morally at peace with yourself and you're not hurting anybody else, right? Like.
But she is. How many women look up to her? How many little girls see all the money she has, all the diamonds she's dripping in, and think, if I sell my body, I can look just like her. You know what I mean? She is hurting people.
For a moment, let's just put that on the shelf and say, okay, this could be, it's like the toxic, it's like that bottle. Like, let's just say you have a shelf of like tinctures. And this one is like a questionably safe one. Yeah. But it's in the bottle, right? Let's just say it's there. Okay, we have that in our medicine cabinet, but she's got it in the bottle, and it's not hurting anybody while it's in the bottle and it's in this area, right? Does that poison other people that don't know how to use it correctly? Yes, absolutely. If they go into her medicine cabinet and they start like just drinking all these tinctures and they're like, oh, this one, yeah, like they probably would get poisoned from it. But if it's contained correctly, like, isn't that part of the feminine woman power, is that we have the ability to do this. We have the sexuality, the sensuality. We have, under healthy circumstances, and brought and reared and like nurtured in the right way, women are really super powerful. And honestly, there would be no industry for this, and there would be no money for it if it didn't have some kind of value and power to it, right? I would say that this is just something that is not being used, appreciated by our own feminine, like like my sisters, my mother out there, like putting your daughter out there, like let's have a conversation because you are not doing this correctly, in my opinion, for all that matters. But because you could be rearing a lawyer, you could be rearing a doctor, you could be rearing a model, like you could be rearing all of this stuff, but yet you have your girl on Fig Street. Come on now.
Okay, but she's basically that girl who's a billionaire's mother trying to do the exact same thing to her that she
Like,
did to
social
this
status.
billionaire. She just doesn't have the money that mother had. She's not married to the lawyer that mother was married to
Got
have
it.
the money to do
Okay.
it. They're the same human. You just don't see that because that woman became a billionaire, whereas this 13-year-old's on this street that's a war zone. Same people. Same human being. That's my belief. But even more so, how can we condone that woman and call it feminine power and then be disgusted with someone like Andrew Tate, who is using his masculine power to make money and utilize his protector provider to get women to do what he wants. It's the same thing. She's using her sexuality to become a billionaire. He's using sexuality and his protector provider to make money. And people get angry that I'll say that, but they're the same villain. They're just one's a masculine villain, one's a feminine villain. And you cannot look at that and say one's okay and one's not. I think they're both disgusting. And the reason why is feminine power, if you ask me, comes from our softness and our ability to give. If we utilize our softness and our gentleness and our divine energy to make the world a better place. And yes, sexuality is a part of that.
I think that does have it, but honestly, you have to add in like that. There is something about the magnetism. There's something about the sensuality of a woman. There's something I think there has to be room for both of them. And this conversation is going into like, I'm surprised where it's going because now I'm just like, wow, if they wouldn't want it if it wasn't valuable. But also like as mothers, as the matriarchs, we have to protect the next generation. We have
Correct.
to protect like male and female. We have to protect our boys and our girls, and we have to nurture them and rear them and educate them in the right kind of way. One of the things that I saw so many times in counseling was how we would, or as we bring up a child or a family or whatever, we have the scapegoat child, right?
Mm-hmm.
They're bad, they're this, they're that, they're the ones that, but really what I would see as a counselor is like, oh, they're just really the person that you feel safe enough to like unleash on. And so with this situation, when I'm watching it, I'm like, she just feels safe enough to like be herself with her daughter in this kind of way, saying that I made it through, you can make it through too, because I do suspect that there probably is some generational stuff going on that the mother experienced. And she's saying, you know what, if I did it and I survived and I made it out this way, you're just my safe person that I'm going to like explain to you and share and cultivate and like bring up in this kind of way. Because she talks to her like she's a therapist. Like she's the 13-year-old girl is her therapist, right?
Correct me if I'm wrong. I was told that term is called emotional.
Support human.
No, when there's a very specific term for it. I'll remember here in a second. Never mind. We'll get back to that.
Describe it to me, and then maybe the word will.
Incest. That's the word. It's emotional incest, is what it's called. To have your child be your emotional support animal. This was told to me by a therapist. I don't know if that's true or not. I am not a licensed therapist or clinician of any sort.
I mean, it's not, from memory, there's things that are in the DSM that I don't recall, but I don't recall it being in the DSM, but I can, like, my therapy brain is, like, activated now, and I'm like, oh, I can see that in so many different situations where you're just, like, being inappropriate emotionally with people who are just not, like,
sometimes
there
you have,
for that.
And you know what? All of us parents, I am so guilty of oversharing sometimes where I'm like, you know what? You don't need to know this. Let me walk away.
So the thing about talking about therapy though, like when I was like coming up as a parent, because I'm second generational trauma, and I'm like, I do not want to be like my mom, and my mom did the best she can. So that's not a knock on her, but it's just like I needed to grow and evolve. But my therapist used to say, well, like you don't have to be perfect, and you're gonna make mistakes.
Yes.
This is like the facts of it, but you just have to be good enough, and you have to know how to like. Not fix, right? You don't want to be going in and fixing, but just communicate through what is happening, and then you're raising emotionally intelligent people.
Right. Well, so I'm going to tip the scales on what I said because I like totally bashed this woman that we all know who she is, but I didn't say her name. Then I'm going to actually say the name of someone I find in high respect, and that would be Cardi B. And people are like, wait a minute, what? And I will explain why. She came from a background of stripping.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? This woman, she made her money. She used her feminine power, as you said, to make it to where she's at right now. And she's very honest about it. But this is the same woman who she'll be listening to some pretty nasty trap music. And the minute one of her children walks in the room, she'll turn it off. And I'm not even a fan of hers, by the way. I don't listen to her music. I don't watch her things. But I've only seen clips here and there. But what I've noticed about this woman is that she is aware of how she got where she is. She doesn't want that for her kids. She suffered so they don't need to. That's a mom who is going through the public eye with so much scrutiny, and people know about her. And yes, her kids are going to find out about all the bad choices she made, but she owns them, and she's making a life for her children where they don't have to live that way. Whereas the woman I was talking about exploits her children and is continuing the cycle and finds no problem with what she's doing.
Well, so let's talk about this. Stay in this lane for a second, because there's other figures out there. I just watched his documentary. Charlie Sheen's got a documentary, and his wife, Denise Richards, love her, right? Love her.
She's so lovely.
But their child, she is on OnlyFans. Their child is doing the female livelihood off of her female sensuality, right? So it's who do you judge? Where do you draw the line? Where do you say that this is not okay?
Is she 18?
I mean, she is, and that's where I'm gonna say I'm gonna draw the line that this guy really super stepped over the line as far as I'm concerned, as a mental health therapist, as a human being, as a mother.
Yeah.
I think that Mark Laita is I think from what I'm seeing out there is he's a predator. He's a John. He's a total John. And that's what I wrote to him, because what pulled me into his channel was another woman who was, I believe, I'm hoping she was 18, but the story was I'm helping her out. She's doing so good. I got her an apartment, her and her kids, this and that. And so that's how it starts, right?
Yeah.
And so you see this video, you hear about her life on the streets, and she tells a whole narrative about how she got there, and he's very super supportive of her. Cut to several months later, she's sitting there in the principal's office getting her hand slapped with a guy next to her who's probably most likely her boyfriend, but also helping her, she was the moneymaker. Yeah. I forget, there's all kinds of contemporary names for it, but anyhow, they're both getting their hands slapped because they had been playing Mark Laita. He had put her in an apartment, and he was paying all the bills, hoping that she would just magically understand now how to get her life together. And who knows what other kind of arrangements they have. One can only speculate.
Sorry.
No, good. Do your thing, mama.
It's just an alarm. But you're right. Okay, continue.
So one can only speculate on the kind of arrangement that he had with her, but it looked like he was using her a little bit as an emotional support person and boosting his ego, because he's doing the good Samaritan work out there. But to come to find out that they had been playing him the whole time. She would say she needed money for this, and she would need money for this, but also it was really actually the real story was that it was going to this guy over here that was both getting the talking to, right? And I'm watching this, actually, it was my husband who came across the video. So that was the video that introed me to the whole soft white underbelly. And I'm watching it, and I'm watching this reaction, and he's like, oh, what a player, what a this, what a that, and he's going off, and I'm like, that is a natural reaction to have to something like this, and you just want to throw it all on her. She's a dirty person. She's a dirty, her dirty deeds are all exposed for people to clutch their pearls and go, oh, how could she play this guy, right? And I'm sitting back over here, from this person who's worked in domestic violence, worked in trafficking, worked in human services, and I'm just this guy's behaving like a John. He's acting like a John. He's out there treating her like a John would and expecting different results than what's already out there. I'm so I wrote him a little note. I'm you're doing nothing different out here. You're part of the system. You're the guy. You might as well. You may not be engaging in who knows how far your dollar is taking you or what you're engaging in for your dollar. But not everybody that spends dollars wants the actual. Some just want their toes played with or whatever. You know what I mean? But the point that I was trying to make is that you're not doing anything therapeutic out there. There's nothing therapeutic. You're just part of the system.
Learned helplessness, and it's getting worse. And, when it comes to something like that, are you really surprised? Are you really surprised? Like him, is he really surprised that that was the outcome of that situation?
Yeah, he was actually in that video.
And then hopefully he learned his lesson that that's not how you help someone. Now, I'm not saying.
I don't think he did.
I mean, like if I've had situations like when I've gone to the different safe houses that take care of people who are trying to stay safe, they have rules there. They're, you know what I mean? Like, they're depending on where you are, there's a rule about, maybe they have rules about when you go to bed. Some don't.
Yeah.
Some say, we stocked the place full of food and you're going to cook for,
And that's how it is usually there.
Right? So these are places that actually exist to help people like that. So if you're someone with lots of money and you want to help someone, the best thing to do is to fund safe houses, to fund resources that can be given to that. If he wanted to help women like her, a great idea is to stop funding that one person and give them direct contacts to resources. Find the resources in your state and offer, pay them. Give them the money for the food. Give them food. Give them resources to house more people, to get them the education that they need. That's going to solve the issue.
That's going to help the issue, absolutely, and solve it. Yeah. Yes.
Because here's, like you mentioned, it all starts at home. And so if you have domestic violence at home and you have a woman who's had enough, or a man, because this happens to men, and they say, I'm done and I want better for my children, where are they going to go? How are they going to start over? How did they get that? And
it's so hard.
In our state, we have so many places that are doing their best with their resources, and my heart is so much bigger for domestic violence victims and survivors, because I got to see it from the other side of it, not the victim side of it as much as I did I have been on both, but on the other side of it, I got to see the helpers. And, there's this quote by Fred Rogers, and I'm going to mess it up right now, but he said that when he was a little boy and something tragic happened on the television, his mother would say, look for the helpers.
For the helpers. I've heard that before.
There's always the helpers. They're always there. And so looking at these helpers in these shelters and looking at these people, men and women. I went to a shelter in Hobbs, actually, that was run. It's a multi-generational shelter where his mother started it. And he took over this shelter, and he took over it for her.
Yeah.
And it's so beautiful to see his heart. And he's very protective of the men and women that come into the shelter. And they do more than house them and give them clothes and food. They give them resources, financial literacy. They give them counseling. They help them find a job if they don't have one.
Get them connected to the resources, care coordinators, management, services, things like that. They do.
They make sure, and some shelters are blessed enough to where they have transportation, help them get back and forth to work until they can afford to leave that shelter. I interviewed a woman who came from a shelter. Her mom drove them there, beaten completely, and then she became a manager there, where she came back after they left that place, after their life was back on track, and they fixed it. So when I hear stories like this, where we have a child living in the war zone who is having to sell herself for whatever reason, whether it's because they're poor, because now she's found power in it, regardless, I am sorry, but if the mother cannot see what's wrong with a child having to do that and isn't willing to surrender to needing to get a better solution.
She needs help. She needs somebody else that can do it, because that's not going to do it.
No, I don't have the right to judge her situation, but I will say this. If we want that to stop, we need more resources. And since we have these funding being cut through government funding being cut, we're back to what I say about us with our veterans. You know how I feel about veterans. They're my heart and soul. Yeah. And I'm like, if the government's not going to take care of our veterans, then we civilians need to rise up and do what we can for them. In the same way, these children who are being trafficked, or as they call them child prostitutes, but they're trafficked, like you said.
Yeah.
Well, we need to rise up and fund these places. You cannot fix this we can't fix this by getting mad at the YouTubers, because that's infuriating that he would even do that.
Yeah.
But I don't, I didn't read it, so my judgment, again, take it with a grain of salt because I haven't actually seen it. But I will say that the solutions always comes back to community. What are we willing to do to stop the cycle?
Yeah.
What are we willing to do? Us moms, I'm a single mom. So how do I protect my children from being in that situation? Well, what part? I will sacrifice my entire life. I will work and do whatever I need to make sure they're okay, to make sure they have the resources they need to have the best life possible. And maybe that's not as good as someone else, maybe they'll have more resources, but that's my job as a mother.
I think you do more than that though, because when I observe you, I learn so much from like how you communicate, your patience, taking to and from, being like the taxi to and from school and stuff like that. It really is a lot to be a mother these days. A successful mother is gonna do like all the sacrifice and all of that stuff, but it's also just like keeping schedules and fathers too, because there's some fathers out there that take on the motherly role,
Yes.
or the feminine role, right? But I just think that rearing kids is almost like being on a treadmill. Like you have to
Yes.
take one step in front of the other, and it's going to be the exact same step. Morning, you're going to get up, you're going to take the kids to school, and like it's going to like require cycle. It's going to require routine. It's going to require all of the things in the shots and the doctor's appointments and all of the things that it takes to successfully raise a kid and protect them from these things that are out there. And yeah, we don't have enough society resources. We don't have enough like support as mothers. If anything, I think that this is just a patriarchal society, and it's more so right now in this moment than I have ever seen it be. Well, I mean, I saw it be that way for my mom, but there was really no support for mothers. There was like the father is going to do the job, and if they don't do the job, then it's your fault as a woman for not bagging that kind of like situation, right? So there's a lot of blaming and shaming and judgmental, which is why I'm always like, oh, I don't judge, but at the same time I judge. So like I guess like looking to me for the answer, I don't know that it's necessarily like the right place, because like you said, the answer isn't in the YouTubers, but yeah, one of the things that got me upset about the situation was like this guy, right? I literally had a reaction to him of jealousy.
I don't blame you.
Of jealousy, because at the time I was working in like the shelter environment, the human service environment, and I'm like, this guy over here with like 1 million views, just giving out money so that he could be a John and have like a sugar daddy situation, because that's literally what it is, right? Millions of views, probably making a pretty decent YouTube income, so that he could be a John and not do anything for the situation other than like have some content which makes people clutch their pearls. And at the beginning, I would watch his videos, and he did have some helpers on there, but it just became like sad story after sad story. And it's an interesting like thing, right? It's the people voyeur part that got me into it. But then as you like learn more, and you're just like funding this guy's life of a John.
You're not wrong, and it's shocking.
Really?
It's so shocking to look at that.
Okay, so I'm gonna, as a true feminist, I'm gonna like start shading man.
You go ahead, because that's the point of what we do, right? Like, we have opposing viewpoints for a reason.
Let me paint this case study, right? And we won't even call it judgment. I'll call it a case study. This is Mr. Mark Laita. I'm going to case study Mark Laita from my perspective. And I might have things wrong and details wrong, but this is what I know of him, and this is what I know of watching his channel. He was a guy who grew up in, seems like, if not privileged, at least like a good, stable, steady environment. And I would personally say that it's probably got a lot of privilege out there. He has the utmost respect for his mother. Apparently, she was like this wonderful, beautiful, effulgent, nurturing person, right? And probably in a very traditional, maybe nuclear, I don't know, like where he got his definitions of masculinity or whatever. But it was definitely not ghetto. It definitely was like a lot of different from the people that he case studies himself. He became a photographer, like fast lifestyle, not fast lifestyle, but a glamorous photographer. He did a lot of photography for models and, probably some of the more famous people that you have ever heard of. He was doing photography for them. Father, married, divorced, dad of girls. He said from his own recollections that he likes to take pictures of weird things, like people. Like he found a bum or something like on the street, and he just started photographing him. And I think that sparked this curiosity. He's done the Whitakers. Have you heard of the Whitakers out there in like the Ozarks or whatever?
No.
They're like this inbred family or whatever. And he went and did a case study of them, and he sells his books. He sells books of these pictures. So, little framework there. He starts doing this soft white underbelly. He does the unsavory characters on Figueroa Street and of our society. He has some mental health people mixed in there. I think I've talked about that. The guy, he's like a psych D or whatever, sharing the perspectives. But this guy, Mark Laita, acts like a John. Recently, in addition to this story that we're talking about, this little girl, he was in a sugar daddy relationship where he had one of the people that was on his channel. She was the daughter of an addict on the street. He got into a relationship with her. She was like 20-something and he's like 50-something. Set her up in a house, there for like whatever calls he needed, whenever, they were in a relationship. But to me, it just seemed like it was a sugar daddy thing. She dies of an overdose. Yeah. I have questions about this guy. I feel like he is a questionable masculine figure. I don't know.
Yeah.
I mean, we want to go after the women, right? Like, we want to say, oh, you should know better. You should know this. Maybe I have, like, a huge ball of grace, like a circus tent for, like, feminine follies. I don't condone in any kind of way what's going on with the situation. And I have a lot to say about it and how wrong that is. But I don't have as much of a circus tent for his... No. I feel like as a privileged person, he should know better than this.
I have to agree with you. I'll take it back to Andrew Tate because he's such a controversial figure. And I mentioned earlier something about him where I'm like, he's just as bad as this, right? But let's be honest. When I look at that situation, we're talking about men and women and bad men. And I would not in any way be ashamed of any of my sons if they emulated the successful part of Andrew Tate, because he believed, I know what I'm saying, but let me explain what I mean, because I see you, but here's what I'm saying, is one of the things he mentions is that a man's job is to suffer, and he mentions that he's supposed to suffer so his family doesn't have to suffer.
I don't think Mark Laita's family is suffering.
Exactly. So what I'm saying is, like, this man over here is not... Andrew's known, okay, so the Tate brothers are known for taking care of women that aren't theirs to take care of, so to speak. And by not theirs, I mean not their wives, not their mother, not their children. Their hearts are so big that they have found women online who are like complaining about being single moms, and they've paid their bills, just paid their bills because they don't think that women should have to suffer. They've utilized their funding to help single mothers, to help impoverished children. You know what I mean? Like, they took their wealth, and how they got there is, we could judge it all day. But the fact that they took what they had and turned it around and actually utilized that to help other people is why I would have no problem with that, versus a woman who made her way in the world utilizing her power of sexuality and getting to a point where she had more than she could ever need to spend in her lifetime. And not utilizing that position to make the world better for more women. That's the difference we're talking about here. Is we women, let's be honest, we are the weaker sex. We do have to depend on men, unfortunately. And some of us have risen to the top with our strength and our power. And those are the women we're supposed to be able to look up to. But there is nothing...
an old narrative. I have to disagree. I feel like that's an old narrative.
Well, I hear that a lot. But when I'm looking at Kim Kardashian, and I finally said her name, right? And I'm looking at her and I'm like, you have all this money. I should be able to look up to you. I should be able to look at your model and be like, I'm a single mom. How can I be successful the way you're successful? The only way is to exploit myself. And gosh, I do not have the money to construct myself into looking as fakely beautiful with all those plastic surgeries to become that. Unfortunately, I'm just me. So I have to find a way that is in my opinion, moral. And I do have moral standards. I'm not willing to sell my body. And I'm not saying women shouldn't be able to utilize their power to make a way in the world. My question is, once you have, how are you contributing back to society that makes it so other women after you do not have to make those same decisions?
I think I'm still attacking the men because I have a lot of.
Well, we can't fix them, right?
right?
No, you're right. But we're women,
Well,
so we have to hold each other accountable and say, hey, ladies, men are going to be men. What are we going to do?
Well, I'm about building people up. I'm about building women up. And even if this mom and the situation, like, girl, like, if you just want my opinion, again, it's a strictly opinion, I would just say, like, the situation is broken. It's really, really, really broken. And you need help. And you need to, like, get help outside of, like, these circles that you're in that would even put you in a situation where you're sitting next to your daughter naked on camera. Like, girl, there is help out there for you. And we can even circle back to that. But to follow your line of thought, masculine or feminine, I think one of the things that I noticed that is like just broken down in our society is that our ability to truly believe in ourselves.
Yes. Yes,
Like,
we agree on that.
You're going to be able to do it. You're going to survive. You've come this far, right? You've come this far as far as like making it through with, you know, all the baggage and all the like adversity that you've had. But then we get to this place where we're like, okay, I'm tired of carrying this load, and then we just ascribe and just give our power to somebody else. I was actually talking about this to my husband the other day because you're talking Andrew Tate, but I was talking to him about Joe Rogan because I cannot bring myself to get into the Tates. I'm like, I'm like, okay, Jen is talking about these people, but who else is like a strong masculine figure who I disagree with and don't, and I can learn something from. So I started Joe Rogan or listening to Joe Rogan's podcast just to learn. And I'm like, you know, this guy, he was a hard worker. He definitely has like come up in the mixed martial arts world.
Brilliant,
and he
man.
definitely has a lot of things to say. But he's like no smarter or no dumber than anybody else. And like he says really, really interesting things. He says some really, really stupid ass things. You know
But what makes him brilliant is the fact that he asks questions. That's what I like about Joe Rogan.
I think also is that he's just really like got grit to put himself out there and like fall and stand on his own.
Yes.
And we are missing that because as soon as we like fall, we're like, oh, I can't do this. Like I need somebody else to do this for me. Nobody's coming to save you. Nobody's coming to do this for you. Nobody is coming to like help you with your daughter. Like you have to like get that. You have to break that cycle on your own. And I know it's really, really hard, but you have to do it. And then that's where I'm like, you know, maybe like this again. I can't go there with this Andrew Tate guy, but with the Joe Rogan when I was telling my husband, I'm like, you know, people really put him up on a pedestal, and millions of people will follow what he says, and millions of people will do it because this person says it, because they've ascribed and they've given their power up to him instead of saying, oh, you know, he's got some interesting things to say over here. He's got some interesting things to say over there. You know, I'll take this. I'll what do they say? The chew the fat, spit out the, or chew the meat, spit out the fat. You know what I'm saying? Like, but there's this thing where like we and as people give away our power.
Yes.
And the fact that this mother is empowering her daughter, her underage baby, to give away her power at such a young age is just exploitation.
Yes.
It's wrong. It's wrong.
You are 100%
And
correct.
Mark Laita, in my opinion, should know better than that. And that's where when I'm like watching, so I learned about this whole situation from BJ. Her channel is really interesting too. But she's talking about how this whole exploitation, she's a lawyer, she's talking about it from the law perspective and like how she feels morally obligated as well with her information to go out there and just say like, people, this is wrong. Like I need to speak up on this and this is wrong. And I agree with her. But she was saying like, look at the situation. Where is this little 13-year-old going to go? Her mom, obviously, she can't go there. She can't go to Mark Laita because he's just exploiting her more. She can't go to these people that like are, you know, there was this bust on Figueroa Street where like the feds were involved and they started like doing some like crackdowns on like the trafficking and the people. And I guess I don't even know these circles. I don't have any idea who they are, but they overlap somehow. And so that other podcast on No Jumper, they were like, oh, you know, somebody is ratting out there on the streets or whatever. And so she's like just analyzing all of this. And she's talking about this little 13-year-old person. And she's like, where is she going to go? Who does she have? And that's where I'm like, you know what? as a mental health therapist, I'm going to chime in on this conversation because she can go to a shelter.
Yes.
She can go to the system, which is broken and it's not right and it's not okay, but there is a family out there that could foster her and teach her correctly.
Yes.
I do not ever ascribe to the place that, oh, we're at the end of the rope. There's nowhere else. There's dead in the road. I'm like, you know, you have to, like, if you want to be out there and not ascribe your power to somebody else and be like a Joe Rogan, if there's no pathway, you have to create it yourself.
100%.
If there is no healing, you have to find it yourself. And you may not like going to the shelter because they have rules and they have chores and they have deadlines and they have things like that, and they have people that are going to tell you, no, like, we're not going to do it like we do it out on the streets. We're going to do it this way. But that is the new road towards, like, the better life.
And what I'll tell you is, you know, even talking about Joe Rogan, when you were talking about he doesn't, you know, he makes his own pathway for single moms, because I'm assuming this woman's single, probably. I don't know, because there's no man involved in this conversation, right?
High probability.
But like becoming, I don't speak for all single women because we are definitely not all alike, but as a single mom, I will say that my job is to emulate both feminine and masculine, and I'm not going to do a great job of that because I'm not a man. But when I look at how do I teach my boys to be men with my limited ability to do so being a female, I do look to strong masculine figures that believe in protecting women. And the reason why I have to do that is because a woman can't teach me how to teach my boy how to be a man. But I can look at what I need as a woman and what I was lacking, you know what I mean? So what I will tell you is we're in the middle of shadow work, which is why I love this conversation, because it's definitely shadow.
So that's interesting. Sorry, just one quick thing. There is an interesting character. I find him a little controversial myself, but he's a psychiatrist and he talks about shadow work. But yes, go deeply into that. I learned about him on Mark Laita, and I was like, oh, so there's things I can like relate to. But anyhow, let's go.
So when we're talking about shadow work, we're looking at the parts of us we can't see. And we're actually trying to shine light on that and look at who we are, right? And so when we're talking about masculine, feminine, where do we go? What do we do? The question I will always ask someone when we're doing any sort of shadow work together is, what are you willing to lose to gain it? Everything you desire. So that is the question that all of these so-called celebrities, millionaires, billionaires that we've talked about today, that is something they all had to ask themselves, whether they make that comment or not. What part of me am I willing to lose? And some of them it was dignity. Some of them, it was morals. Their value, their moralistic views, they had to be willing to let those go. I'm not willing to let those go, so I am where I am, and I accept my position. As a single mom, I was willing to lose a career that made lots and lots of money to raise my children and have a safe place for them to go. I was willing to sacrifice my reputation as far as where people expect you to be at a certain age and a certain point in life, where there are women who'll be like, well, I have kids and I have a career and I can do this and that. And I'm like, you also have a husband.
I 100% agree with you, though, about this. Like, the feminine place, the, like, nurturer, the Eve figure, right, absolutely belongs in the home. And can we just talk about how, like, we don't have a society that supports her?
I can honestly say that's true because I am a single mom, and I have a lot of people in society that encourage me, that see what I do and honor me. But I will tell you, this is where feminists get mad because they go, you don't need a man, you can do it. But I had my plumbing backup. Okay, let me just put this out there because I had my plumbing backup, and my kids are special needs. So everyone needs their plumbing fixed, but it's more important when you have children that they just have very specific needs, where that becomes even more important. They need a specific type of consistency. And I don't know how to fix plumbing. And being a single mom, it was an extraordinary expense that I just did not have to cover. And it was a man who saved me. And no one's coming to save you, right? But he saw my situation. He saw my contribution. He saw what I was doing. He saw what was happening. And he had no reason to help me. And he saw my position and took it upon himself to make sure I didn't have to bear the weight of that burden without any expectation of getting anything in return. And that's rare. That's a rare thing. But my point in that is the type of model I would want for my children.
Yes.
Because, you said I can't deal with the Andrew Tate thing. So let's move into a regular, ordinary man who is very much in touch with his feminine side, but kind enough to do this for someone. And being a very proud woman, I couldn't do it just for a thank you. I made this man meals,
Well, isn't that, okay, sorry, just to go back to Andrew Tate,
Yeah.
just to give you some context, but he has been accused, and this is where I have bias, I have issue with people who have been accused of sexual assault. I have very little tolerance for that, whoever you are. But also with some grace of like that 17-year-old you were talking about, like that's a human mistake. Like I really need to dig into the facts of him, but I do lean on him as like I've heard he's even like banned from Florida, and I'm like that's really all I need to know about that.
I encourage you to do the research on the case file because it's actually pretty interesting.
Okay, we'll have to case file that.
And I'll leave that there because I do believe in doing your own research. Don't believe everything you hear online.
Absolutely.
And all of our opinions are, that's just all they are is opinions. And so I can say all day he's a great guy. We could find out tomorrow he's awful. We don't. It's just an opinion.
So that's the thing. That's where it is. I don't personally put my endorsement behind people where I don't feel like I can speak intelligently, confidently, and if you have a sexual assault charge, I need to know about it. And like so that's where I'm like, before I endorse or put my endorsement on this guy, I just like, there's a lot of red flags that I see with him. But having said that, I wanted to circle back to what you were saying because there is a difference in the masculine energy of somebody who is benevolent, wants to help you for nothing in exchange, because this is where I feel like we get into the weeds of this other subject, where they just want to see you do well because they love you and they just care about you. That is a true, purified masculine form of energy.
And his exact words were, you just need a break. He's all, you're working so hard and you just need a break. Let me give you a break. And that was hard for me because I am a proud mom. I am that one where someone will come in and, I learned from past mistakes where they're like, I'll help you. And I'm like,
for an exchange, right? There's transactional.
I'm like, what do you want from me in order to help you? So no, thank you. Your price is probably too high for me. I'm not going to sacrifice my integrity.
Yeah.
But then again, that's the other thing about this mom. Like the whole fancy song, I'm guessing the mom wasn't very attractive, so she had to have her daughter go out there to do this.
She's beautiful. They're both beautiful.
But let's be honest, if my kids were starving, there isn't a thing about myself I wouldn't sacrifice to feed them. And I don't care what anyone thinks about that.
But that's a dangerous part. That's a dangerous place in survival that they're at, where they feel like they need to be transactional with this guy Mark Laita, right? And his channel is very transactional, and people can say, oh well, you go to the doctor or whatever, but it's very clear when you go to the doctor, they hand you pages of like consent forms and like outlining what exactly they're going to do and what exactly you're going to do and what are your obligations and what are their obligations, and if there is any boundaries crossed there, this is what your legal right is as far as like being able to contest it or file grievances and stuff like that. There's none of that with this YouTube channel. There's nothing going on in the cyberspace in the YouTube world where people can be actually held accountable, and that's where I'm like, this guy is like literally getting away with like engaging in transactional behavior that is really crossing the line on like child exploitation.
Yeah, and it's heartbreaking to think about that, but again, what does everyone say in media? What did they used to say is, how do we stand up for that? We change the channel. We stop watching when we see that.
But okay, so if you can do that, and I have in this situation. But yeah, there's the fact that there's a minor now on the channel. Do we as a society have a obligation, and like we have a platform to just speak out and say like, at the very least, you should look at this because I have concerns.
Yes, I agree with you on this. I think we should look at that. And okay, so, change the channel used to be the thing, right? Because it was just something outrageous they said. Now we're in a position where, like you said, a child is being exploited for something she's already being exploited for. Yeah. And now it's double exploitation here. But what I would say is, what you did, I feel, is the right thing. I admire you for taking that extra step. So many people wouldn't. You know, yes, you change the channel, you flag the channel so that YouTube has no
Can you flag
choice.
the channel?
You can. You can say this video is inappropriate, and they will look at it. And then they have to make that moral line. Do we keep it on, or do we, you know, penalize this channel? We can all do that. We can do that with anything.
I mean, allegedly, we have this, like, really, what is that when you're, like, the on it FBI. So I feel like what he's doing is, like, it requires an FBI call, but I'm not gonna, you know, I'll leave BJ to do that. I'll just speak out on it here because I really don't have all the facts, and I couldn't even tell you what the video said because I didn't watch it. But in my opinion, in looking at the situation, it makes me analyze the other things that are going on in this situation. He has people on this channel that, imagine, like, if somebody, your friend, is, like, blackout drunk, right? They do not know what they're doing, and they cannot consent. You wouldn't let them consent to.
Say that again. just for viewers who are peeking in to know that specific thing you just said.
If somebody is blackout drunk, like, let's say you're out with a group of friends, and somebody gets blackout drunk, and they want to, like, make a decision that you know is not, like, right for them. Like, they want to get behind the wheel of a car. If you let that blacked out friend get behind the wheel of a car, you know that they could potentially kill themselves or kill somebody else. But they're not even in their right mind to be able to wake up in the morning and know that they would have made that decision. And he has people in the state, it's actually a mental health term, it's called anosognosia, where you need help, but you do not have the mental faculties to even be aware that you need help or even consent to the fact that you need help. Anosognosia is a place you probably have had a friend that has been in that blackout space, or you might have a parent or a grandparent who's had Alzheimer's. So when they get into that space, that's what that is.
Sadly, doesn't that sound like a child who doesn't know better and doesn't know what consequences?
So this is where I drew the line with this channel, and I, like, have let it go, and he just came back circled into my purview because I watched BJ, and I was like, oh, this guy. because that was my initial concern. I'm like, you have these people on your channel that are so out of their minds, intoxicated through days, decades, weeks, months, years of substance use, that I question, can you even give consent to be on camera in front of the entire nation under those conditions?
I don't think so. Let's take it back to, how do we fix this? We raise the helpers.
We raise the helpers.
Raise the helpers. You are not a perfect parent. I'm not a perfect parent. This is a fact. But when we instill our children into understanding what it is to be a helper is not an enabler. We don't condone bad behavior. We don't accept it. We just love the person. And what that means is, you know, to be a leader, you don't hold someone's hand and show them what to do like that. You lead by example.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So for me, as a single mother, it's, you know, I have rules for myself that I follow. And I'm very strict with those rules and my behavior. I'm not going to share what those are, but those are my rules and my moral values, that I don't do things that other mothers do. And, you know, some women are like, oh, you're so deprived, girl. You should come out and you should do this. You should do that. And for me, I'd rather be home with my kids.
Me too.
If I had a husband, I would rather be cooking for him. You know what I mean? But I would rather cook for my kids. I would rather be home with them. I would rather spend hours reading Harry Potter over again with them than I would like to go out to networking. You know, I don't do a lot of networking after 5. A lot of people will invite me to events. On rare occasions, I will go. But for the most part, I don't care if it'll advance my career. That's what I'm willing to lose to gain children that feel supported and loved. So what are you willing to lose to gain the things you truly desire? For some people, it was their morals. It was, you know, their dignity. Some, you know, I thought about this seeing Miss Keeping Up With, and I thought about this. I was like, one day you're going to be old. And you know, what I mean by that is you can no longer cash in on your sexuality. Do you have the love for yourself to accept that you're enough when no one's looking at you and no one cares how many Playboy spreads you've been in or how many times your booty looked good on camera.
Or how many dollar bills you have in your bank account. Because I think a lot of that comes, and a lot of it in
Look
our
at Barbara
society.
Walters. My goodness, this woman was a treasure. Everybody wanted to be interviewed. You made it when you were interviewed by Barbara Walters, and she was not sexualized, I might add.
But she was an adulterer. She did have like a lot of affairs with
Yeah.
dudes that were married.
Well, so here's my point.
Not to
We
judge,
found
just
out
saying.
I found out very recently that she was, I don't know if she's still alive, but I found out recently that she had dementia.
Did she really?
Yeah.
Oh, interesting.
And so that shocked me. And I thought, I hadn't heard about her in years. I had forgotten all about her.
Is she alive? I'm gonna
Yeah.
Google. Is she alive?
Yeah, please look that up. But my point in that was that in the end, the world doesn't care. Even the most, whether you love him or hate him, respect him or don't, Andrew Tate right now is an icon. Everyone knows who he is. But there will come a day where the world will see him as irrelevant. And I don't know him personally, but I would think that what would make him sleep at night was whether or not his family was safe and taken care of, and he would probably not give a crap what the rest of us thought.
She passed in 19. I'm sorry. I'm in the wrong century.
I'm all 19. Wow, I'm really
She
behind.
passed in 2022.
Okay.
Yeah.
So it wasn't televised. We didn't know about it. She interviewed every major celebrity, including and not limited to Lady Gaga, Justin Bieber, and even way before that, Sean Connery. And so, multi-generations respected her and saw her as a valued woman despite her moral quandaries.
Well, so that's the thing. Like we as human are fallible.
Yeah.
Like we are gonna be fallible. We are gonna make mistakes. Redemption is a unique. I personally believe redemption is a unique characteristic to the human condition. We fall so that we can rebound, right?
Oh yeah, I would totally bow down and respect Kim Kardashian tomorrow if she said, you know what? That's my past. I'm not doing this anymore. I don't want my kids exploited. I want to be a mom now, and I'm done exploiting my body and my children to make money. I have plenty.
But wait a minute.
Bravo,
Okay,
lady. But she'll never do it.
If she didn't do that, but also, going back to what you said, if you asked her or you asked her children or even her mom,
Ugh.
if she felt safe and secure and happy with how she was like reared,
Would they know any different? Do they even know what safety and security looks like?
I mean, but who is it? Is it up to us to judge safety and security for certain people? This is where I get tangled on soft white underbelly.
No, you're
I'm
fair.
Like, is it up to me to like say, okay, get off the streets, everybody. You're not safe. You're not secure there.
No, you're right. That's where the judgment comes in, right? The
and
no judgment area.
So this is an interesting thing.
Sorry, I'll judge her all day.
What pulled me into BJ's channel is because she was like an outspoken adversary of Mark Laita's channel based off of him having another person on there who forced somebody into treatment and forced them to get sober. And that's how I got pulled into her channel, because of that forced aspect of them being forced into treatment. And actually this person died as well. Whole other story there. But so she's like picking it apart through her legal perspective. And at first I'm like, not really on her, or to sum it up, I'm still torn on that whole subject, but that is what pulled me into the orbit of these people. And I think that that it is a huge question of who has the right to judge.
No, you're fair. I mean, I would rather my children, and not judging people, but as a mother, when you're like, how would I like my children to turn out? Would I want my children to turn out like me? I'm the harshest judge on myself. You know what I mean?
Well, so that's the thing, though, because the person you're talking about has underage children, so I won't bring them up too much. But if you ask those underage children, are they oppressed? Because
they won't know yet. They'll have to wait. Let them grow up
themselves on the things that they don't like about their family. And I think that if you're able to speak out on your family and say like, no, you're not like this, or you're not that, or I don't like this or that, but I have the choice to like make up my own mind. She must be doing something right?
I hope so.
Some kind of autonomy there.
You know, I genuinely hope her children are the cycle breakers. I hope her children utilize the fact that their mother made all that money and did what she did, and I hope that whatever career path they choose, whether that's in the public eye or not, that they choose a different pathway.
Yeah.
I really do. I hope that the children learn from her mistakes and their grandma's mistakes, and they don't exploit their children. I genuinely cheer for her kids. I cheer for the kids because they are innocent in it all. But I will go back to the fact that we as parents, we have to decide. Unfortunately, the society decides what role models are out there for our children to pick from that aren't us, right? And I would rather my daughter come home and say, I want to be like Candace Owens, and I want to have I want to have my opinion out there, and I'm going to do my research, and I'm going to do this. Regardless of what their opinion is, if they're willing to do the research, if they're willing to put themselves out there, and they're willing to be hated by people because people don't agree with their opinion, but they're willing to do that with integrity, I would be thrilled versus, my child going, I want to make my money by showing my ass on TV. Forgive my language, but I mean, she's a woman to look up to. I mean, she is someone who really, even when she has opposing viewpoints with people, she has compassion and love for the person and doesn't judge who they are. She's a beautiful woman. But at the same time, I would also be thrilled if my daughter came to me and said she wanted to be like Dr. Athena Parakis, who is incredibly liberal, she-ra all the way, and is all about female empowerment and doing it through non-judgmental healing spirituality. And she's a beautiful woman. So when you look at the contrast in there, one of them's conservative, one of them's liberal, and I would be happy with either one with my kids. The difference between those two women and the women we've talked about today are that those women are not focused on making themselves look big and great. And it's not about that. It's about finding truth and living that truth to the best of your ability, whether or not others agree with you.
Yeah. I think the benefit of what we're having a conversation of right now is that it's just coming out from a female perspective. Honestly,
Yes.
our
girls.
voice, the women's voice and the feminine voice, whether it's coming from a man or a woman, is just muffled through the centuries. It's
Yes.
not only muffled, but it's been like silenced. It's been,
But how privileged are we that we can do this?
Yes, because we may not agree on everything or even on some of these figures because I have a lot of. Actually, I think Candace Owens is a really interesting pick because have you seen that thing where she's like center stage and there's like 20 people that are like opposing of her and she has to like defend her views? Anyhow, I don't know. Tangent anyways is very interesting. I love it. I don't love her, but I how privileged are we to be able to speak on a feminine perspective? And I'm still going to throw a little shade on the masculine because I feel like there has been, whether by fault or not, or by intention or not, like there has been this like smothering of a feminine voice. And I don't know how to raise kids to the perspective of, or the perfection of society standards. I do know that you should be very careful with children. Because
100%.
in my observation, humans are resilient and we can take our knocks and we can get back up and we can rise to like ultimate levels of success, but we are actually a lot more fragile than we give ourselves credit for.
I agree. I think about that every day being a single mom. I think about what would happen to my children if I wasn't here. Am I raising them to be independent or am I smothering them? Am I enabling them to need the system? And you know how we do that? That's by solving all their problems for them, by not allowing them to feel their own adversity and feel the weight of their consequences. I was probably hated by each and every one of my children 3 weeks ago. They took a day hating me individually and telling me what a bad mother I was for taking their phones, for not doing their chores.
I've been that mom.
You know what I mean? And what I learned from that is I would rather be their villain at times than be loved, liked by my kids because they love me. But it was funny because each and every one of them took a day to be mad at me. But the next week, I get a text from my 20-year-old and he says, "You're a really good mom. Thanks for teaching me what you taught me because now I know how to take care of myself." And I needed that. I needed that because I was feeling like I deserved the award for the worst mom of the world until you told me about this
You had
woman.
just gone through the ringer, girl.
Yeah, like my kids had all told me basically, you know, you won't let me watch TV. You're a bad mom. My friend's mom lets them watch TV, you know?
No, I had a revelation about this because my son was playing the same thing. Oh, my friend's parents don't take their phone away, and he had been spending a lot of time with his friends at the time. And I'm like, no, you're just at their house when they're getting the consequences, and you're the bystander that parents cannot touch, and they cannot discuss things with you, and they cannot parent you. And I'm like, you are avoiding us and accountability by being out with your friends too much. And I'm allowing that, but not only am I allowing that, I'm realizing that I had this whole conversation with somebody, and it hit me like a light bulb. I'm like, I only like to parent when it's fun. I struggle getting into my masculine, like, this is the consequence, this is the boundary, this is the thing, because I don't like that person in me. I'm trying to be more feminine. I realize I'm like kind of like a dude. My chart says I'm like kind of like a dude, but I really enjoy being like the feminine, soft, nurturing, giving,
You've embodied
providing.
it. Yeah.
I'm trying to. Well, I feel happiest like that, and so I get mad at my kids. I'm like, why are you making me be like the?
Why are you testing my gangster? That's what I heard.
I'm like, and then I'm upset because I'm not taking accountability for like the fact that it's part of the deal. You absolutely have to parent your kids.
Well,
and you have to be the bad guy sometimes.
Yeah.
Whether you like it or not. And I was talking to my friend about this and telling her, like, I was griping about how I don't like this. Then it dawned on me, I only like to parent when it's fun. And then my kids are watching me only like to do things when it's fun.
So they learn how to make you.
But then I'm questioning and then I'm looking at it, and then I'm questioning them and getting on their cases about, why do you only want to do the fun stuff? Why don't you want to do the hard stuff? And I'm like, I only want to parent when it's fun.
That's a beautiful way to look at yourself and be very honest. That's what we call shadow work. That's shadow work right there. That is what it is to face your shadow. For me, my shadow work is that I've been in control so long in my family. I am the authoritarian, so that I had to be okay being alone because I realized at this stage of my parenting with my teens, I would not relinquish control to anyone. I could imagine having someone come in and try to be that, because God has been my co-parent for so long that I would be very judgmental towards someone coming in trying to parent with me for my children. And so my shadow work was learning that I liked control.
Yeah.
And I had to learn how to let go of a little bit of that. With my kids, it's easier because I know how important it is for them to gain their independence. In a relationship with men and women, it's so much more difficult because you have to submit to your husband. I believe that should be a natural thing, but it's hard to practice when you're a single person. So.
Again, I would challenge that old narrative because, in my opinion, or my experience, I don't submit very easy. I'm oppositional, and I just don't. It's not in my nature to do that. And so I actually have found that causes discord. And maybe let me frame it this way. This might not be the same for everybody, but I found that like submission expectation causes discord for my cohabitation partner relationship. What I have found easier or more successful for me is to submit to being wrong.
Yeah, well, that's a form of submission, right? So it doesn't have to be, it depends on what you consider submission. So in my situation, I don't have anyone to submit to in any way, right? Saying I was wrong is hard for any strong woman, I believe, or man. You know, I was wrong. It is something I've put in practice. It's kind of like... an example of that is like I used to steal pens everywhere I went. You know, like they'd give me a pen to sign something, it'd go in my pocket, not even thinking about it. To fix that, I started telling people I'm a pen thief.
I'm going to steal your pen.
Right before they give me their pen. I am a pen thief. And you know what that did is that held me accountable, but it also held them accountable to make sure they got their pen back. And so I don't do that very much anymore. If I like the pen, before they even hand it to me, I'm like, can I have this? You know, but it held myself accountable saying, this is what I do, and letting the other person know instead of trying to pretend it's not there.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And that's a silly example. But when it comes to parenting or being in a relationship with someone, in the words "I was wrong," you know, I reframe that now with I had a person that was the closest thing to a relationship I will have. And I learned to say, "You're right."
You're right. You know what?
Instead of saying I'm wrong, I'd say, "You're right."
That is a beautiful and actually, yes, a very successful method of reframe because, yeah.
If you have a hard time saying you're wrong, then acknowledge their correct.
They're right, yeah.
Their correct opinion. You are correct, or you're right. That is something I hadn't considered. And that right there, it changes your viewpoint of being wrong and reminds you that they're not opposing you. It isn't about them being right and you being wrong. Sometimes when you, especially if you're in a relationship, you're coming from two different parts of a situation, but it's polarity. Somewhere in the middle is the truth. You're on this side, this person's on that side, and in the middle, there's the real truth.
But so you have to find. So this is also where, like, I think there's a little.
And I learned this by doing it all wrong, by the way.
Yeah, all of this is by
right.
trial and error.
Trial and error and getting it wrong.
By fire. So the thing too, though, there about that, and just me being a hardcore feminist is being like, I'm not gonna give up when I'm right. I'm not gonna just back down and submit to somebody who thinks just because they have a universal position in the world. When they're wrong, and when I'm right, I'm right. So I think it's important to find your tribe of people that you can have a safe space and be.
But men are supposed to submit to their wives too. So what I mean by that is when there's a dispute in a relationship, I think that's the piece that's missing. We hear submission for women and we think that's a weakness, but it's actually our power.
Yeah.
Because whenever it comes to a situation, if you are submissive to your husband, meaning that he says, hey, I would like to do things this way, and there's really no reason to oppose him. You have no problem with this. You give him that honor. Yes, we will do it this way. I trust you to lead us. But when there's really a problem you don't agree with, you should have that safety to say, I don't agree with this and I don't want to do this. And the submission a man comes in is to recognize that. And because he loves you, he will take that with you and he will accept that. And I think what women, especially me, I didn't understand this in marriage. I think this is where I failed for my own personal growth and gain in that, was that I thought that being a strong woman meant opposing my husband and standing up for myself every time. And it made me very combative. And that was my shadow I had to work on. And I still work on that.
Well, okay.
There's no need to be. There were times I was combative even when it was unnecessary. So by learning to be submissive and soft, and really feminine power is being soft. If you look back even at Marilyn Monroe, I love to use her as an example because there's this movie clip that's all over Instagram. We've all seen it, where she's talking to this man and he goes, you just want to marry my son for his money. And she says, no, I don't. I want to marry him for your money. And he gets so indignant. And she's all, wait a minute. You wouldn't marry a woman just because she's pretty, but my goodness, doesn't that help? And she goes, and if you had a daughter, you'd want the greatest things for her in life. You'd want her to have all the finer things. Well, why is that okay for you to want for her and not for me to want? And when she mentions that, the guy said, I thought you were stupid. And she goes, I can be smart when it matters.
Oh my gosh.
And I love that because she's so soft. She has her breathy little voice and she's talking about it. But what she's saying is, I love your son. He has money. And that is a factor. That is part of what makes him a good match for me. I'm beautiful. That is what I have to offer this man. You know what I mean?
I love Marilyn.
And women, and modern day feminists would be mad at that for a big part of that. But when I look at her, that is the epitome of what I mean by in that scene, in that very specific scene of what it is to be powerful, submissive, and in your softness as a woman, is she recognized that her beauty is what drew this very rich man in. But that's not all she had to offer. She was smart. She had other things. But she was so classy and elegant and submissive, but she was in control of herself. She didn't give herself up to have her softness.
I think the feminine, again, like care who embodies that, but the feminine has just yet begun. And I think it's an interesting thing that we've had all these things, and there's been so many like end of the world prophecy or whatever, like the 2012 or whatever, like, you know, the world was going to end. And maybe in some aspect, a type of the world did end. But I do know that we are not out yet. Like, our voice has not even been heard yet. Our time to shine has not even been heard yet. And I do know that there's like powerful forces that are creating like that, suffocating, or they're trying to, because if you think about it right now, our society is not built for women. It's never been built for women. It's been, like Candace Owens says, our place is in the kitchen, our place is in the home. And I don't disagree with that. I think that somebody has to be home to raise the children. But in every advancement that we've had to have women be empowered, like remote work, for example, very empowering for women, very empowering for disabled people, very empowering. But people that control the narrative, masculine energies, really have like, oh, people at home, they can't be working, they wouldn't be working. But when in contrast, women are working their asses off from home because they're able to take care of their home and their children and not live on the streets. But things like that, there's like a retreat on that right now because I think because people are afraid. What is the woman going to say? What is the woman going to do? What does an empowered woman look like? Because they don't even know what it looks like. Like the guy, he's like taken aback and indignant because of somebody like Marilyn Monroe would actually like talk back to him with a brain, right? Like that's just a small example, but like we really haven't had our day yet. We haven't risen yet. Like,
You're correct. But I agree with you. But I think that's where we women have to rise in our power because like you said, what's an empowered woman look like? Candace Owens says we belong in the kitchen, but she makes a good career. She does both.
Oh my gosh, you have to see that video, right? Because she makes the argument that that's where we belong, but she is a special kind of woman. Like she has the ability to do that. And this is where I get like really frustrated with that form of femininity because it's the oppressive femininity. It's oppressive. It's for a certain kind of people, but not for you. It's for me. It's the narcissistic feminism.
Yeah, and I can see how you could get that from her. I don't know her personal life, so when I look at her, I'd need more perspective. But what I would say is I do recognize that what she values, she's also working, right? So she's also working. And I ask myself this all the time. I do a lot of good in the community. We know this, you know, right now we're working on the first responders teddy bear and blanket drive. I'm helping with the domestic violence sector, trying to get the word out about what it is and the help we have in our state. I'm doing these things while also volunteering my time for special needs children when I can. You know, like I do a lot for the community. Would I give that up? Should I, you know, I ever have another baby and stay home with my baby? Would I be willing to give up a career that I made lots of money with to stay home again? And I am a woman that would be like, if I were blessed with child number 6 in a marriage, because I ain't going to have one without a ring, I would say right now, yes.
Well, so here's the thing.
That to me is empowering because I'd have a choice.
I'm gonna practice. I'm gonna engage in curiosity here and practice. Candace Owens is right to a degree.
Fair.
She is right, and I may be wrong, but she is right to a degree because her premise is that you are not going to be. Women will only be happy, or the feminine energy will only be happy taking care of the children in the home, and honestly, she is right about being able to connect and grow a family, a healthy family. It is my bread and butter. It is my soul. And she is right in that.
What do you do when they grow up?
And, well, there's that question. So that's another layer. I was going with the point of, and if I had been able to be the breadwinner and out of the home, knowing that there was somebody there who could love and nurture my children as much as I could, I would have been happy with that too. So I think I would.
Isn't that beautiful, though? That here's what I love about what you just said, is that I find you one of the most empowering women I know. One of the most. I'm going to fangirl here for a second. I find you empowering. I find you incredible. I find you standing for yourself and in your truth more often than most women I meet.
I bet. Okay, I went to hot yoga yesterday. And girl, there is a whole community of what you just said. Like, I'm like, oh, thank you, Jenna. But also, like, there are more of us out there. Like, there are some, and the yoga teacher kicked my butt. But I was like, okay, I'm like hooked. And I just am like, I'm saying, like, our time has not come, but it doesn't mean that there's not people out there that are, like, willing to help give these really good examples of all that you're saying right there. But go ahead. Tell me
No,
more.
but what I was saying is the thing about it is what it means to stand in your power is not to oppress another person or not to, and that's why I like you so much, and I think that's why I admire you, is that you do look at both sides that you can see. And you're willing to recognize that there is a side you cannot see that you have to leave space for. Now, I'm sorry, but I am not friends of feminists for one reason and one reason only. They are hard-headed and only see their perspective. And they would have my son enslaved and down with men. Like I said, the sticker I got, criminalize men. No.
No, I don't think a
No.
true feminist would. Well, I don't know.
But
honestly, let's stay away from labels because,
Yeah.
like, this is the thing. Like, that capital-
modern day is what I like to say because I believe in feminism. I believe in the women who burned their bras and fought for us to have voting rights and to be able to work if we wanted to and to go to college if we wanted to and have a job if we wanted to.
Or just stay away from the labels because, like,
Right.
you know, then because it brings up the politics. Like,
Fair.
oh, capitalists are bad.
Right. No, fair.
Marxism is bad. Like, the communism,
Right.
the
You're
democratic
right.
communism, the far right. You know what I mean?
Right.
Like,
Let's not pin each other against each other. I see that.
So the label part, I would say
Let's just say most of the time when I'm looking at feminine energy and what empowered feminine energy looks like, it is the ability to hold space for another person to heal too. So in a nutshell, what I bring that back down to is what I would like to see with the feminine form, based on what we've talked about. We've talked about, you know, how this child has been exploited. We've talked about this man and his position in power and how he could have utilized that to help her, and instead it's more of exploitation.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, make no bones about it. Like,
that's what that is.
I think I have enough information now to just know that whole channel, that whole man situation or masculine situation over there is very transactional, very exploitative. Mm-hmm.
So
exploitative.
I agree with you. And since we are recording this in October, which is the Domestic Violence Awareness Month, and this is going into sexual, sexual. Sexual. When this is coming into that sort of, I think they mirror and they usually marry as well. This happens a lot in both sectors. I think it's important that when we talk about our next topic on domestic violence, a woman's voice to be able to speak out and say, this has happened to me. We're rising in the feminine where we are no longer making excuses for the behavior of people who have taken their power and exploited others with it instead of utilizing it to help others. So, you know, being Domestic Violence Awareness Month, I'd like to end on this note, is on our next segment, I would love to dive into the safe masculine.
I would love that too. Talking about what is safe, and because I don't have the answers for everything, but like I do know one of the things that has just been very, very therapeutic in my life is just to have safe spaces. And people laugh and they make their little jokes about that or whatever, like, you know, woke or whatever. However, I've been in healing places and healing environments, and that is truly like a necessary ingredient for change and healing, safety.
Amen to that. And I genuinely love that we have the opportunity today and the freedom to be able to disagree on some subjects and have the love for each other, to encourage each other, not to we don't put each other down. I love that you have opinions that are different than mine. I love that we're able to put these two things out there. And sometimes, I will admit, some of our conversations, I'll take a sharper turn because you should have a conversation about what you really feel. Yeah. What I think, what Brenna thinks, they don't have to be your thoughts. You have your own mind, and that's the greatest thing about feminine power, masculine power, is that we have the ability to make up our own mind and make our own choices based on the content we see. So if you are empowered by anything you see here, make sure and let us know. If what we've said you disagree with, make different choices, make better choices for yourself.
Well, I would love to hear them too, and I'm here like actually engaged in a conversation on social media right now with somebody going back and forth about stuff, because I love to go back and forth with people. I do not shy away from the volley. So bring your conversation. Let's talk about the safe masculine next time you come in, and I'm here for that.
Yes. Bye, guys.
Bye.